Hi, I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. I'm wearing my warm hat because I'm out here in the garage and it's cold. It's like 24 degrees this morning. I've got a job I've got to do. It involves replacing a purge valve. Now when I checked my car after I first bought it, it had an engine warning light on it. I said, oh, that's not good. But I bought it used, knowing full well that it might have problems. So I got out my meter, which I have two. I have a small pocket meter, and then I have a larger one. And they both said it was a P455 on a 2007 Lincoln Signature Towncar. That means that it's got a problem with the purge valve. This little thing right here, called a purge valve. Now the point and purpose of this purge valve is to dump the gas vapors that are collected in a little container from the gas tank. Any vapors that come off the gas tank go into that container. And when the container reaches a certain point, and I don't know what the point is, I haven't looked into it, don't really care. When it reaches a certain level, this little valve is supposed to open and let those vapors pass through this little line here, through the valve, and into this little line which goes over to the fuel injection. But it all comes down to the computer has to tell this valve to open. Well, there's a problem. These little valves seem to fail. No one really told me why they fail or how they fail. They just fail. Now it's a solenoid valve, so that I'm assuming it's got a little coil inside there, and that coil moves armature inside the solenoid, which moves the valve. So as long as the computer is telling this coil to be energized, and that causes that armature to move, it opens the valves and purges the tank. If it doesn't do that, the computer gets a signal, says, oh, it didn't work, and you get a P455 code. Also, you get a check engine light, and your gas mileage starts dropping. I don't know why the gas mileage would start dropping, but it does. So, what I'm going to do today is change that valve. One of the questions that I had as I looked at the darn thing, and it's mounted on a plate like this. The valve clips onto the plate in this manner. When you look at this thing, it's got 3 bolts. 1, 2, 3. One up here, one there, one there. It mounts onto the intake for the heater and the air conditioner. These 3 bolts, I can see 2, but I can't see the third because it's bolted to the side of something else. So I was looking at this thing thinking, how am I going to get that out? Because I can get to these 2. I have to take off a bunch of stuff off the top of the car. You know, I have to take off that air intake for the heater and defrosters and everything else. And then I have to find that other bolt and take it loose so that I can take this off. And that means I have to drop this down, slide it out of that thing in order to get this to move. And I was thinking, oh, that's going to be a huge pain in the butt. That's a lot of work. I don't want to take this whole hood apart. But I still had this valve, purge valve. And I thought, well, I'd just take it over and have Mac's Garage do it. I said, Dave, that's just stupid. It's $85 for the valve. Yeah. This little thing here. See what I just did? I looked all over the internet. I looked on YouTube, I looked on the different forums, I went to the Lincoln dealership, and I asked all around, is there a way to change this valve without taking off the hood? Well, you know, you gotta take it in, we can do it for like $1,000, and then we'll change that valve. Oh man, that's a ton of work and a ton of money to come up with all of a sudden. And you know, when you give a car to a dealership, you don't know what's going to happen. Well, your Framus valve is bad, and we changed that too because we couldn't let you drive with a bad Framus valve. You see how that's got to be. And there you are stuck. You're paying for a Framus valve, knowing full well there is no such thing as a Framus valve, but you can't prove it. So you pay the money and you drive home, listening to the thing that you wanted them to fix rattle, clank, and bang because they didn't take care of the thing you wanted them to. Not all dealerships are that way. It only takes one to sour you on all of them. So I ordered the valve. Said, all right, if I got to, I got to. I'll do whatever I got to do to get the car right. Thinking I was going to end up taking off the hood and that cowling there, the intake for the heater and air conditioning and all the other stuff. Thinking that's going to be huge because the mounts for that are inside the fenders. You got to take the fenders off. So you're taking off the whole doghouse to get to this purge valve. So I got the thing and it came in the mail and I'm looking at it because now I can see it. Prior to that, I took pictures on the inside and I looked at it and I tried to figure out how to get the darn thing off, and I said, you know what? That clips on there like that. If I do this and push in on that, I can pull it right off. Bang, there you go. Don't have to change this. So I thought, well, that's going to be great. When I first got to Colorado, it had a little valve, and I've forgotten what kind of valve it is because it isn't important, but it's a little valve on the inside of the engine block. And it wasn't working. And it gave me a code, and I checked online and found out what the code was and said you had to change the valve. So I went down to AutoZone. That's what I did. Went down to AutoZone, bought the valve, came back home, went to put it on. No problems. I got it on, everything was fine, except I couldn't get the wire off of the connector on that little valve. The one that's still on the Colorado right now. So I finally ended up breaking the connector to get it off. Stuck a screwdriver in there and just popped it off. Said, okay, fine, I got it off. Put it back together again, put some tape on it, held it together, and I've been driving it that way now for 10 years. And not the way I want to do things, but it was my truck. I can get home. One way or the other, I can get home. So I get this thing, and I said, okay, I'm going to change that valve. That was like a month ago. Well, we didn't want to have the car down because we had to go here. We didn't want the car down because we had this thing going. We didn't want to lose the possibility of driving the car because of this, that, or the other thing. Long enough, it gave me a month of stalling. Totally uncalled for. It's just the way I am. So, this morning, I said, I'm going to change that valve. I'm going to change the valve. I've got the truck running. If something happens, we can drive the truck. We've done that before. Before we had the car, we had just the truck. So, I came out, grabbed a hold of the connectors, put my thumb in a little patch there. There's a little clip, and pulled on it. Off came the connector. I said, well, there's two hoses. How are those held on? They got a little clip on them. So I pushed on the little button, and off they came. Thank you, Ford. You actually came up with a good design. You just never told anybody. You never gave us any idea how to do it. You know, if you go to one of those self-help books on how to change things, how to do things, I have one for the Lincoln because I have one for the Colorado also. It tells you 90% of how to do something and leaves out the important stuff because you're supposed to take anything serious to the dealership where, you know, we talked about that. So anyways, now I have this valve. I can get the two lines off. I can get this off. Let's change it. Long talk. Let's change it. There's a little button on top of this thing. You push down on that, and off comes that little cord. Get over here out of the way. Now to get the hose off, there's a little yellow bar right across the top here. You press down on it, and the hose comes off. I can't get this fitting off. I tried all different kinds of things trying to get a view at it and couldn't figure out where the button was. So I looked down here, down the line, and here's a yellow button on this thing. So I pressed in on it. Not easily. But I pressed in on it and it came off. And I said, okay, let's take this off then. Of course, since how I put this one on the second time, now it's not going to come loose. There it goes. And I looked at this line. This line has a white block on it. I guess that one's white also. This one on the valve itself has a black one. So you can't see it. Now maybe that's to say, okay, the black one goes on the bottom. But for me, they could have made them both the same color. It's not like one fits where the other one does fit. Okay, so now I'm just going to slide the new one on where it belongs. There we go. Then we'll put the bottom line on where it belongs. There it goes. Clip it onto there, and everything's on snug and tight. Good. And I put this other valve line on, and there. The 2EVMV line is on. Now I can hook up this cable. And the valve is changed. The job is done. I didn't have to take anything off. Measure. It was actually pretty darn easy, wasn't it? All that worry, all that fretting, and it's all done. Now I just have to go get the car keys, start the car, see if it runs. It doesn't go boom. This trouble light was cheap. It came from a garage sale, or I think it actually came from your estate sale out at Schoolcraft. Okay, make sure I haven't left anything in here. No, I got the valve in the box and the bracket in the box. There we go. Car's shut, ready to go. Let's see how she works. Okay, we got everything all put together. Time for a test drive. I'll take it out and drive it around the block. If something goes wrong, I want to be able to walk home. Air suspension's off, oil change required. Average fuel 22.6. That's pretty good for a car this size. Now the only thing I'm seeing is the idle is a little high. Okay, it's dropping back. That's a new thing. It wasn't doing that before. Okay. We got a full tank of gas. We could do a lot of driving. System's okay, park aid on. Press select to begin system check. Oil life, 0%, hold reset. we're looking good. Idle came back up a little bit. Temperature hasn't come up at all. Okay, let's hit the road. Now I'm in Michigan, so I cannot have a phone running in the car with me in the car unless it's mounted on the dashboard. Can't hold it in my hand, can't be talking to it, can't do anything to it, because there's a law that Gretsch had passed that nobody can drive while they're using their phone. Which, in a great many ways, makes sense. A lot of people get hurt, but, you know, Darwin Awards. You do dumb things, you die. But I'm not going to get a ticket for something silly like having my phone in my hand taking pictures of the dashboard. So, I'll talk to you when I get done. Well, we made it home. Didn't get a ticket because I didn't use the phone. And everything's just fine. Car's running good. Didn't have any warning lights. Didn't have any problems. Everything was just fine. If you have any suggestions for new video, questions about today's video, or any of the other videos on the channel, just drop a note in the comments. You know I read them all. Thanks for watching.
This video is not to be viewed by anyone under the age of 13 in the U.S. or 16 in the European Union without the express written permission of the parents or the legal guardians of the underage person. Such written permission must be on file at the local government entity in charge of enforcing the rules and regulations established by the FTC. Anyone violating these terms is admitting by default that they hold harmless the owners and operators of this channel. Any and all questions should be addressed to your local branch of the FTC.